Hello there, and welcome to the Science for Sleep channel. The world outside these moments can often feel busy, loud, and endlessly demanding, filled with traffic, screens, notifications, and constant movement. But here, everything begins to slow down. This is a quiet, gentle place where the noise fades into the background, where curious minds are free to drift peacefully towards sleep, or simply linger in a calm state of learning while the body relaxes. There is no rush here, no pressure to keep up. Just a soft invitation to listen, imagine, and unwind. Tonight, we're not simply looking at forests, caves, and oceans from afar. We are stepping into them, moving slowly and thoughtfully, to discover some of nature's most magical and often overlooked secrets. These are wonders that exist quietly all around us, hidden in plain sight, rarely noticed in the rush of everyday life. We'll uncover things most people never see or never pause long enough to think about. A flower that blooms only once in its entire lifetime. Stones that seem to move and walk across the desert floor all on their own. Storms that have raged continuously for centuries. And trees so ancient that they were already old when the earliest civilizations were just beginning. We'll travel gently, fact by fact, without haste, through deserts that can suddenly explode into color after a single rainfall, through rivers that flow silently beneath the surface of the sea, and through the quiet, almost impossible ways life manages to survive and adapt in every corner of Earth. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you. Some ideas may linger softly in your thoughts, staying with you the way the scent of rain hangs in the air after a warm summer storm has passed. And just before we truly begin, if these calm and curious explorations help you relax, unwind, or bring a peaceful end to your day, you're welcome to like and subscribe, or simply share your thoughts down in the comments. Doing so helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. A single teaspoon of soil can contain more life than there are people on Earth. Beneath your feet exists an entire hidden world that you rarely ever see or think about. In just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there can be billions of microscopic organisms, including bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and countless tiny creatures like nematodes and mites. Together, these organisms form a vast and complex living network beneath the ground. This underground community quietly breaks down fallen leaves and dead plants, recycles nutrients back into the soil, filters water, and even communicates with plant roots through subtle chemical signals. Many of these organisms are far too small to imagine clearly, yet together they form the foundation of every land-based ecosystem on Earth. Without them, plants would struggle to grow, crops would fail, and the entire chain of life above the soil would slowly collapse. Scientists are still discovering new species in soil samples today, life forms that have never been named or studied before. It's deeply humbling to realize that under the sole of your shoe lies a teeming city of life so vast it dwarfs the entire human population, quietly working every moment to keep our world alive. Certain plants can move fast enough to catch prey. Most plants move so slowly that we never notice their motion, growing and bending over days, weeks, or even years. But some species defy this expectation, moving with surprising speed, fast enough to trap an unsuspecting insect. The Venus flytrap, for instance, can snap its leaves shut in less than a second when tiny trigger hairs inside the trap are touched twice in quick succession. Other carnivorous plants behave differently. Sundews slowly curl their sticky leaves inward, while the water wheel plant spins its traps underwater. These movements happen because of rapid changes in water pressure inside the plant cells, all triggered by touch. To the insect, everything happens instantly. One moment it's exploring, the next it's caught. These plants live in nutrient-poor soils, so catching and digesting prey provides them with essential nitrogen they cannot get from the ground alone. Watching one in action can feel strangely unsettling, almost as if the plant has made a conscious decision. Some trees can live for thousands of years. In the quiet corners of the world, there are trees so old that entire civilizations have risen and fallen during their lifetime. The bristlecone pines of the American West are among the most ancient living organisms on Earth, with some individuals exceeding 4,000 years of age. They grow incredibly slowly, twisting into sculpted shapes under relentless wind, snow, and time itself. Their bark appears weathered and worn, yet beneath it, life continues. Inside the tree's core lies a living record of every year that has passed. Wet years and dry years, harsh winters and gentle seasons, all preserved in thin growth rings. These trees survive not by resisting change, but by adapting to it, allowing parts of themselves to die back during harsh years and then growing again when conditions improve. When you stand near one, you're standing beside something that began life before the pyramids were built, and is still quietly producing new leaves, one spring after another. Certain fungi can control the minds of insects. In the undergrowth of tropical forests, a strange and unsettling drama unfolds every day. The Ophiocordyceps fungus infects ants and other insects, spreading slowly through their bodies. Once inside, it releases chemicals that alter the insect's behavior, compelling it to leave its colony and climb to a high, exposed perch. There, the fungus kills its host and grows a stalk from its body, releasing spores into the air below, ready to infect others. This process is not random. The height and position are carefully optimized to spread spores as far as possible. To us, it feels like science fiction, a parasite hijacking a nervous system and turning a living creature into a vehicle for reproduction. Yet in nature, it is simply another part of the rainforest's complex web of life, unsettling, precise, and strangely fascinating. There are places where it rains fish. In a small town in Honduras called Yoro, residents have a name for a rare and remarkable event, Lluvia de Peces, or the rain of fish. Several times a year, usually after intense thunderstorms, people find small fish flopping in the streets and fields. Scientists believe powerful winds or waterspouts lift fish from nearby rivers or the sea and carry them inland before dropping them with the rain. Some locals see it as a miracle, while others accept it as a strange but natural phenomenon. Similar events have been reported in other parts of the world, involving frogs, crabs, and even jellyfish. To witness it firsthand must feel surreal, hearing the rain fall and then seeing the ground shimmer with living creatures. Some animals can survive being frozen solid. In the far north, certain creatures can pause their lives in the most extreme way imaginable. The wood frog of Alaska, for example, can allow up to 2/3 of its body water to freeze during winter. Its heart stops beating, its blood stops flowing, and yet it is not dead. Special compounds in its body, such as glucose and urea, act as natural antifreeze, preventing its cells from bursting. When spring returns and temperatures rise, the frog slowly thaws. Its heart begins beating again, and it hops away as if nothing happened. Insects, fish, and even microscopic tardigrades use similar strategies. It's a survival method that seems impossible, yet nature has refined it over millions of years, allowing life to persist where winter feels like a months-long deep freeze. Lightning strikes Earth millions of times every day. Somewhere on the planet, lightning is flashing at this very moment. Scientists estimate roughly 8 million lightning strikes occur each day, more than 90 every second. These bolts form when electrical charges build up inside clouds or between clouds and the ground. The air around a lightning bolt heats to over 30,000 degrees Celsius in an instant, hotter than the surface of the sun. That sudden heat causes the air to expand explosively, creating thunder. Lightning doesn't just light up the sky. It also plays a role in Earth's chemistry, helping form compounds like nitrogen oxides that plants depend on. In tropical regions, where storms are frequent, the night horizon often flickers with distant flashes, a quiet reminder that the atmosphere itself is constantly alive with energy. Some fish can walk on land. In tidal zones and swampy environments, certain fish have learned to move beyond the water. The mudskipper, found in parts of Asia and Africa, uses strong pectoral fins to walk across muddy flats in search of food and to escape predators. It can breathe through its skin and the lining of its mouth and throat, as long as it stays moist. Other fish, like the climbing perch, can survive out of water for days and even move between ponds. These unusual adaptations allow them to thrive where purely aquatic fish cannot. Watching a fish pull itself along the ground feels like watching evolution in action, a glimpse into the distant past when life was first testing the edges of land. The Amazon rainforest makes its own rain. The Amazon is so vast and dense that it creates its own weather system. Each day, the forest releases billions of liters of water vapor into the air through a process called transpiration. This moisture rises, cools, and condenses into clouds, which later fall back as rain, nourishing the forest that produced it and sustaining one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. This continuous cycle helps the Amazon rainforest remain green, dense, and lush even during the drier months of the year, when rainfall temporarily decreases. The forest does not simply depend on rain from elsewhere. It actively helps create the conditions it needs to survive. This self-sustaining system also influences weather patterns far beyond South America, affecting rainfall thousands of kilometers away in regions that may never see the forest itself. The sheer scale of this process is difficult to truly imagine. From high above, satellite images reveal the rainforest exhaling vast plumes of moisture into the atmosphere, shaping clouds and guiding winds. In this way, the Amazon behaves like a giant living heart, steadily pumping water vapor into the sky, regulating climate, and helping stabilize weather across entire continents. There are rivers that flow beneath the ocean. Far below the surface, where sunlight fades and pressure increases, rivers can still exist. These underwater rivers are not made of fresh water like those on land, but of dense, salty water or sediment-rich currents that move steadily along the seafloor. One of the most striking examples lies beneath the Black Sea, where a powerful underwater river flows for more than 100 kilometers, complete with banks, channels, and even waterfalls formed by the movement of heavier water. These hidden rivers carve pathways through the seabed, transport nutrients, and shape underwater landscapes in much the same way surface rivers sculpt valleys and plains. They often form where bodies of water with different salinities meet, creating sharp boundaries where denser water sinks and flows separately beneath lighter layers. Divers who have encountered these underwater rivers describe an eerie and unforgettable sensation. Swimming through one river while another flows above it, the layers clearly visible in the dim, blue-tinged light. Some deserts bloom with flowers overnight. Deserts may appear barren and lifeless, but beneath their dry surfaces lie countless seeds, some of which have waited patiently for years or even decades. These seeds remain dormant until the perfect conditions arrive. After a rare and soaking rain, they awaken almost immediately. Within hours or days, landscapes that once seemed empty transform into vast carpets of color. Yellows, purples, reds, and whites spread across the ground as thousands of plants bloom at once, racing against time. The display is brief. Soon, the heat returns, drying the flowers and scattering seeds back into the soil, where they will wait once more. In places like the Atacama Desert in Chile, these super blooms are so intense they can be seen from space, a sudden explosion of life against one of the harshest environments on Earth. It is nature's reminder that even in the most unlikely places, beauty and abundance can appear without warning. There are lakes that never freeze, even in the coldest winters. In regions where winter locks most water surfaces beneath thick ice, a few lakes quietly defy the season. These lakes remain liquid year-round for several reasons. Some are fed by warm underground springs that keep temperatures just above freezing. Others are extremely deep, with stable temperatures in their depths that help regulate the surface. In volcanic regions, geothermal heat rises from below, creating pockets of open water even when the surrounding land is frozen solid. These unfrozen lakes become vital havens for wildlife during winter, drawing birds, mammals, and other animals that depend on open water to drink and feed. In the stillness of a snowy landscape, the sight of rippling water feels almost unreal, a gentle reminder that warmth and life can persist in the most unexpected places. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals. When people imagine coral reefs, they often picture colorful stone-like formations filled with fish. But the reef itself is alive, built slowly and patiently by countless tiny animals called coral polyps. Each polyp secretes a hard skeleton made of calcium carbonate. Over centuries, these microscopic structures accumulate, forming massive reefs. New generations of polyps settle on top of the old skeletons, expanding the reef upward and outward, creating what is essentially a living city beneath the sea. Coral reefs provide food, shelter, and breeding grounds for thousands of species, acting as nurseries for many fish that later populate the open ocean. Though delicate and vulnerable, reefs can stretch for hundreds of kilometers, like Australia's Great Barrier Reef. From above, they appear as vivid patterns against blue water. Up close, every ridge and curve is the result of animals no bigger than a grain of rice, shaping the ocean floor one tiny layer at a time. Some birds can fly for months without landing. The common swift is among nature's most tireless travelers. Once it leaves the nest, it may remain in the air for months on end, eating, sleeping, and even mating while flying. Scientists tracking these birds have recorded journeys spanning thousands of kilometers, looping between continents as the birds ride invisible air currents to conserve energy. Swifts are capable of sleeping in short bursts, allowing parts of their brain to rest while they continue gliding. Other birds, such as certain albatross species, also travel immense distances over open oceans, barely touching land. To imagine a life spent almost entirely in the sky is to glimpse a completely different way of existing, where the ground is only an occasional memory and the horizon never disappears. The air in forests can act like a natural medicine. When you step into a forest and breathe deeply, a sense of calm often arrives almost immediately. Part of this effect comes from chemicals released by trees known as phytoncides. These compounds help protect plants from pests and disease. When humans inhale them, they can lower stress hormones, reduce blood pressure, and even strengthen immune function. In Japan, this practice is known as Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. It involves mindful time spent among trees, not exercise or effort, but simple presence. Scientific studies have shown measurable health benefits from this practice, confirming that the effect is not just psychological. It is as if the forest shares a small part of its resilience with us, a quiet exchange carried gently through the air. Volcanoes can create new islands. When an undersea volcano erupts, molten rock rises from the ocean floor, piling up layer by layer. Over time, it can break the surface, forming brand new land. These volcanic islands often begin as barren, steaming rock, but nature wastes no time. Winds carry seeds, birds arrive, and marine life gathers along the shores, slowly beginning the process of colonization. Some islands are temporary, worn away by waves, while others endure, growing into permanent homes for plants, animals, and even humans. In 1963, an eruption off the coast of Iceland created the island of Surtsey, which became a living laboratory for scientists studying how ecosystems develop from nothing. Watching an island rise where there was once only open ocean is to witness Earth reshaping itself in real time. Some animals can regrow entire limbs. Salamanders are famous for this ability. If one loses a leg, it can grow a new one, complete with bones, muscles, nerves, and skin. Certain species can even regenerate parts of their heart, eyes, or spinal cord. Starfish can regrow lost arms, and in some cases, an entirely new starfish can form from a single limb if part of the central body remains. This remarkable ability relies on specialized cells that can transform into any type of tissue needed. Humans share some of the same genetic pathways, but ours are far less active. Scientists study these animals in hopes of unlocking new methods to heal severe injuries. In nature, regeneration is not a miracle, but a survival strategy, allowing animals to recover from damage that would otherwise be permanent. Glaciers can move like rivers of ice. Though they appear frozen and unmoving, glaciers are constantly flowing. Gravity pulls them downhill, and over months and years, the ice behaves like an extremely slow river. Some glaciers move only a few centimeters per day, while others surge several meters in short periods. As glaciers move, they grind rock into fine powder, carve valleys, and reshape entire landscapes. When they retreat, they leave behind lakes, ridges, and fertile soil. Watching a glacier move with the naked eye is nearly impossible, but satellite images and time-lapse photography reveal their steady motion, reminding us that even the most solid things on Earth are never truly still. There are caves filled with giant crystals. In northern Mexico lies the Cave of the Crystals, discovered in the year 2000 beneath a working mine. Inside this hidden chamber are some of the largest natural crystals ever found, selenite columns stretching up to 15 meters in length, glowing softly in the dim light. The cave's extreme heat and humidity make it dangerous to enter without protective equipment, but those who have visited describe it as stepping into a dreamlike world, where the walls themselves seem alive with light. These crystals formed over hundreds of thousands of years in mineral-rich water held at a stable temperature, a breathtaking example of geology's slow and patient artistry. Some plants communicate through underground networks. Beneath the forest floor, fungi form vast webs of thin threads called mycelium, connecting the roots of different plants. Through this vast underground network, often called the Wood Wide Web, plants are able to share nutrients, exchange chemical signals, and even warn one another about danger. A tree under attack by insects may release specific chemical messages through its roots, prompting nearby trees to begin producing bitter or toxic compounds before the threat reaches them. In other cases, an older, well-established tree may send sugars and nutrients through the fungal network to a younger sapling growing in deep shade, helping it survive until it can reach sunlight. This quiet cooperation blurs the line between individual plants and the forest as a whole. What might appear to us as separate trees competing for space is, beneath the soil, a connected community working together. From above, a forest looks still and silent, but below the surface it is alive with constant communication, an unseen exchange of information flowing endlessly through roots and fungi. There are forests growing on floating islands. In certain lakes, marshes and wetlands, mats of soil, tangled roots, and dense vegetation can slowly break free from the shoreline and begin drifting across the water. Over time, grasses take hold, shrubs spread outward, and eventually even trees can grow, their roots woven tightly through the floating mass. Some of these islands are small and light enough to drift with the wind, gently changing position from day to day. Others become heavy and stable, anchoring themselves temporarily before breaking free again. These floating forests provide shelter for birds, insects, and amphibians above, while fish and aquatic life find refuge beneath their shadowed undersides. Some can persist for decades, slowly changing shape as plants grow and decay. In parts of the world, floating forests are woven into local folklore, described as places that appear and disappear with the seasons. They are a reminder that even something as firmly rooted as a forest can learn to wander. Certain butterflies can see colors humans cannot. Human eyes detect three primary colors of light: red, green, and blue, which blend to form the spectrum we experience. But many butterflies possess far more complex visual systems, with receptors capable of detecting additional wavelengths, including ultraviolet light. This allows them to see intricate patterns on flowers that guide them to nectar, as well as hidden markings on other butterflies that help them recognize mates or rivals. To us, these patterns are invisible, yet to a butterfly they may glow like landing lights. Imagining their vision means imagining a world painted with colors we have no names for, a spectrum beyond human experience, but just as real as the sunlight warming our skin. Some animals can change their sex to survive. In certain fish species, such as clownfish and wrasses, sex is not fixed at birth. If the dominant female in a group dies, the largest male may undergo a transformation, changing into a female to take her place. In other species, the process happens in reverse, with females becoming males when needed. These changes are not merely behavioral. The animal's bodies undergo deep biological transformations, altering hormone levels, reproductive organs, and even physical appearance. This ability ensures that reproduction can continue even when populations are small or unbalanced. Shaped by millions of years of evolution, it is a remarkable survival strategy, allowing individuals to adapt directly to the needs of their community. The tallest waves in the ocean can form without storms. Most waves are driven by wind, but rogue waves can rise suddenly from calm seas, towering over the surrounding water with no warning. These massive waves form when smaller waves merge and combine their energy, creating a single wall of water that can be twice as tall as anything nearby. Once dismissed as sailors' legends, rogue waves have now been confirmed by satellites and ocean buoys, with some measured at over 30 meters high. Though rare, they are incredibly powerful, capable of damaging even large ships. Out in the open ocean, they can appear and vanish within minutes, reminding us that the sea holds dangers hidden even beneath peaceful skies. There are flowers that bloom only once every few decades. Some plants spend years, even decades, gathering energy for a single moment of reproduction. The agave plant, for example, may take up to 30 years to bloom, sending a towering stalk covered in flowers skyward before dying soon after. In the Himalayas, the rare Himalayan lily waits patiently for the perfect combination of temperature, moisture, and season before revealing its pale blossoms. These rare blooms often occur in mass events, overwhelming pollinators with abundance and ensuring seeds are spread widely. It is a risky strategy, but when successful, it allows the plant to leave behind countless offspring in one brief, brilliant moment. Some lakes change color depending on the season. In certain places, the same lake may appear deep blue in summer, vibrant green in spring, or even shades of pink or red at other times of year. These shifts are often caused by changes in algae populations, mineral content, or the way sunlight interacts with the water. Australia's Lake Hillier, for example, is famously bubblegum pink due to unique microorganisms that thrive in its salty waters. Other lakes transform as algae blooms rise and fall with temperature and nutrients. Standing at the shoreline, it can look as though the water has been dyed. Yet every color is the result of natural chemistry at work. Certain animals never stop growing. While most creatures reach a fixed adult size, some species continue growing throughout their lives, a trait known as indeterminate growth. Many fish, reptiles, and amphibians become slightly larger each year, as long as food is available and they survive long enough. This is why some catfish, turtles, or crocodiles can reach astonishing sizes in the wild. The largest individuals are often the oldest, carrying decades of experience in their slow, deliberate movements. Earth's magnetic field helps animals find their way. From sea turtles crossing vast oceans to birds migrating between continents, many animals can sense the planet's magnetic field. This hidden sense comes from specialized cells or tiny magnetic particles within their bodies, allowing them to navigate even when landmarks are absent. Some animals use this ability as a backup when clouds block the stars or sun. Experiments show that altering magnetic cues can change an animal's direction, as if their internal compass has been shifted. It is a navigation system tuned not to maps or landmarks, but to the Earth itself. There are trees that can walk to find sunlight. In parts of Central and South America, the walking palm grows multiple stilt-like roots that slowly replace one another. If one side of the tree becomes shaded, it grows new roots toward brighter areas and allows older roots to die away, gradually shifting its position. While it doesn't walk in the way animals do, it can move several centimeters each year, enough to reach better conditions. This slow-motion movement challenges the idea of plants as completely fixed beings. Some plants can store water for years. In the harshest environments, survival often depends on holding on to water when it is available. Plants like Africa's baobab tree or desert succulents store enormous reserves of water in their trunks, stems, or leaves. A single baobab can hold thousands of liters, sustaining itself through years of drought. These water stores also support birds, insects, and mammals during dry seasons. In landscapes where rain may not fall for months or even years, such plants act as living reservoirs, quietly holding life within them until the world turns green again. There are forests growing on floating islands. In lakes, marshes, and wetlands, pieces of land can break free from shorelines and drift away, carrying their vegetation with them. These islands begin as mats of tangled roots and soil, often formed when floods loosen the land. Over time, grasses, shrubs, and full-grown trees can establish themselves, their weight balanced by the buoyant root network beneath. Some islands shift with every breeze, while others grow large enough to support entire miniature forests. They become safe havens for nesting birds and insects, protected from land-based predators. In many regions, local legends tell of islands that appear and vanish with the seasons, drifting silently across the water. Watching a forest move, however slowly, feels almost impossible, a reminder that even the most grounded landscapes can choose to wander. Certain butterflies can see colors humans can't. The human eye is tuned to just 3 primary colors: red, green, and blue. From these three signals, our brains construct everything we recognize as the visible spectrum. Every sunset, every flower, every shade of the sky is built from that limited range. But some butterflies experience a far richer visual world. Species such as the painted lady or the bluebottle butterfly possess eyes with additional types of photoreceptor cells, allowing them to detect ultraviolet light along with colors we cannot perceive. To these butterflies, the world looks entirely different. Flowers that appear plain to us are marked with bold ultraviolet patterns, acting like glowing runway lights that guide them directly to nectar. Even other butterflies carry hidden signals. Ultraviolet markings on wings can reveal health, strength, readiness to mate, or serve as warnings to rivals and predators. We can't fully imagine what their vision looks like, but scientists believe it would feel like adding entirely new colors to the rainbow. Hues we have no words for, patterns that shimmer and disappear as light changes, and a constant glow to flowers that seem ordinary to our eyes. Some animals can change their sex to survive. In the underwater world, survival often depends on social balance rather than strength alone. Clownfish, for example, live in small groups structured around a strict hierarchy. At the top is a single dominant female. If she dies, the largest male in the group undergoes a remarkable transformation, changing into a female and taking her place. This ensures the group can continue reproducing without interruption. Other species, such as certain wrasses and parrotfish, switch in the opposite direction, changing from female to male when the social structure demands it. These changes are not superficial. They involve sweeping hormonal shifts, the restructuring of reproductive organs, and sometimes dramatic changes in color, size, or behavior. It is not a temporary role, but a permanent biological transformation. This adaptation means that no matter how a group is disrupted, life continues. What seems extraordinary to us is, in these ecosystems, simply a practical solution refined over millions of years. The tallest waves in the ocean can form without storms. Most people imagine giant waves rising only during violent weather, driven by powerful winds and crashing storms. Yet some of the ocean's most dangerous waves appear on calm days, under clear skies. These are known as rogue waves. They form when several smaller waves align perfectly, combining their energy into a single towering crest through a process called constructive interference. These waves can grow to twice the height of surrounding waves, sometimes rising more than 30 meters into the air. Once dismissed as sailors' myths, rogue waves have now been confirmed by satellites and ocean sensors. They can rise from an otherwise ordinary sea within minutes and vanish just as quickly. Ships caught in their path often receive no warning at all. Standing on a deck and seeing a sudden wall of water block the horizon would feel as though the ocean itself had stood up, reminding us how powerful and unpredictable it can be, even in moments of apparent calm. There are flowers that bloom only once every few decades. Some plants spend years, even decades, slowly gathering energy for a single chance to reproduce. The agave plant is a striking example. It may grow quietly for 30 years or more before sending up a towering stalk covered in hundreds of blossoms. Once it flowers, the plant dies, leaving behind seeds to carry on the next generation. In the Himalayas, the rare Himalayan lily waits patiently for the perfect combination of temperature, sunlight, and soil moisture before revealing its delicate blooms. When these plants finally flower, they often do so all at once, attracting swarms of pollinators and overwhelming them with abundance. It is a high-stakes gamble. Years of patience invested in one brief opportunity. If conditions are wrong, the chance is lost. But when it succeeds, the landscape transforms as if the earth itself had been saving up beauty for a single fleeting display. Some lakes change color depending on the season. In certain places, the same body of water can shift through a palette of colors throughout the year. Deep blue in one season, vivid green in another, sometimes even pink or red. These changes are usually driven by seasonal blooms of algae, shifts in mineral concentrations, or the way sunlight scatters through the water at different angles. In Canada's Spotted Lake, mineral-rich pools turn shades of yellow, green, and blue as water evaporates during summer. In Australia's Lake Hillier, microorganisms give the water a bubblegum pink hue year-round. In other lakes, the changes are temporary, tied closely to seasonal cycles. Standing at the shore, it can feel as though the water has been dyed overnight. Yet it is all the work of natural chemistry, quietly transforming the landscape without a single human hand. Certain animals never stop growing. While most species reach a fixed adult size, some creatures continue to grow throughout their entire lives, a trait known as indeterminate growth. Many fish, reptiles, and amphibians become slightly larger each year, provided they have enough food and avoid injury or disease. Giant catfish in Southeast Asia can exceed 2 meters in length, while saltwater crocodiles may grow for decades, eventually becoming massive apex predators. This slow, steady growth means the largest individuals are also the oldest. These elders carry decades of experience, knowing where food can be found, when danger is likely, and how to survive harsh seasons. Their presence alone can shape the balance of entire ecosystems. Earth's magnetic field helps animals find their way. Invisible to us, Earth's magnetic field wraps around the planet like a hidden map. Many animals can sense it and use it for navigation. Sea turtles rely on it to cross entire oceans, returning years later to the very beaches where they hatched. Migratory birds travel thousands of kilometers between breeding and wintering grounds, adjusting their routes as magnetic lines slowly shift over time. Even tiny organisms, such as certain bacteria, align themselves with magnetic fields to locate optimal environments. Scientists believe this ability may come from microscopic magnetic crystals inside animals' bodies, or from specialized proteins in their eyes that react to magnetic fields. Whatever the mechanism, it reveals that animals experience layers of the world we cannot perceive, guided by forces that silently shape every journey. There are trees that can walk to find sunlight. Deep in the rainforests of Central and South America, the walking palm has developed an unusual way to cope with shifting light. It grows multiple stilt-like roots that can sprout in different directions. When part of the tree becomes shaded, it sends out new roots toward brighter areas. Over time, older roots on the shaded side die back, allowing the trunk to shift its position by several centimeters each year. While it doesn't walk as animals do, this slow movement helps it survive in dense forests where sunlight constantly changes as other plants grow. It is a form of migration measured not in steps, but in years, a patient journey toward the light. Some plants can store water for years. In arid landscapes where rainfall is rare and unpredictable, survival often depends on storing water when it is available. The baobab tree, native to parts of Africa, can hold thousands of liters of water within its swollen trunk. This reserve sustains the tree itself, as well as animals and people who depend on it during long droughts. Desert succulents store water in thick leaves and stems, sealing it behind waxy coatings that slow evaporation. These plants act as living reservoirs, providing moisture during the harshest months. In many environments, the water stored within them is the difference between survival and collapse for entire ecosystems. There are glowing bays where the water lights up at night. In a few rare coastal locations around the world, the sea comes alive after dark, glowing with a soft, otherworldly light. These bioluminescent bays are filled with microscopic organisms known as dinoflagellates, tiny living cells that possess an extraordinary ability. When disturbed, they emit light. Every splash of water, every passing paddle, even the subtle movement of a fish beneath the surface triggers countless flashes. Together, these tiny sparks transform the water into what looks like liquid starlight, as if the night sky itself has melted into the sea. One of the most famous examples of this phenomenon is Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico. Here, the glow can be so intense that the movement of a swimming turtle leaves behind a glowing trail, its path etched briefly in light before fading away. This magical effect is caused by a chemical reaction inside the dinoflagellates, similar to the process that allows fireflies to glow on land. Calm, shallow waters combined with warm temperatures create the perfect environment for these displays. Dip your hand into the bay and lift it back out. For a moment, droplets shimmer and sparkle before fading, as if the ocean is trying to remember the shape of your touch. Some mountains grow taller every year. Mountains may appear solid, ancient, and unmoving, but many of them are still rising. Deep beneath the surface, tectonic forces slowly reshape the land. Where continental plates collide, enormous pressure pushes the Earth's crust upward, creating mountain ranges that continue to grow millimeter by millimeter over time. The Himalayas, home to Mount Everest, are one of the clearest examples. As the Indian plate continues pressing into the Eurasian plate, the mountains are still rising today. Although erosion from wind, ice, and water constantly wears them down, the upward force in this region outpaces the erosion. In geological terms, this is considered rapid change, even though it is far too slow for us to notice in daily life. With precise satellite measurements, scientists can observe peaks inching higher over decades, a quiet reminder that the planet is still actively shaping itself. Certain animals can live without oxygen for months. Most life on Earth depends on oxygen to survive, yet some creatures have evolved remarkable ways to endure without it. The painted turtle, for example, can hibernate underwater in frozen lakes for more than 4 months. During this time, it slows its metabolism dramatically and switches to anaerobic energy production, allowing it to survive in oxygen-free conditions. In deep, oxygen-poor sediments, some worms and small crustaceans have developed biochemical pathways that bypass oxygen entirely. Even more astonishing are tiny jellyfish-like organisms called Hennegia salmonicola, which lack mitochondria altogether. These creatures never use oxygen at any stage of their lives. For them, oxygen is not just optional, it is unnecessary. Such adaptations allow life to persist in environments where most organisms would perish within minutes, expanding our understanding of what survival truly means. Rainbows can appear as full circles from the air. From the ground, rainbows seem like graceful arcs, their ends disappearing beyond the horizon. But from above, such as from an airplane or a high mountain, it is sometimes possible to see the entire shape, a perfect circle of color. This happens because a rainbow is actually a complete ring of light, formed when sunlight is refracted and reflected inside countless raindrops. On the ground, the Earth itself blocks the lower half of the circle from view. From higher elevations, with no obstruction, the full ring becomes visible. Pilots often witness this phenomenon, sometimes seeing a circular rainbow surrounding the shadow of their aircraft, known as a glory. It is a striking reminder that what we see is often only part of a much larger whole, revealed only when perspective changes. Some deserts are colder than ice. When we think of deserts, we often imagine heat, sand, and endless sun. But deserts are defined by dryness, not temperature. The largest deserts on Earth are Antarctica and the Arctic, vast frozen landscapes where precipitation is so rare that they qualify as deserts. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windiest place on the planet, with temperatures plunging below -70 degrees Celsius. Despite these extremes, life persists. Microbial organisms survive in pockets of liquid water beneath the ice, while hardy lichens cling to exposed rocks. These polar deserts possess a stark beauty, from blinding white plains under endless summer daylight to the deep blue glow of ice caves. Sometimes, silence and ice define a desert just as much as heat and sand. There are waterfalls that flow upward in strong winds. Under specific conditions, powerful gusts of wind can catch the falling water of a tall waterfall and push it back toward the sky. This surreal effect is most common along coastal cliffs, where strong ocean winds are forced upward against rock faces. When the wind is strong enough, the waterfall appears to reverse direction, its spray streaming upward instead of falling. In reality, the water is shattered into fine mist and carried away by the wind. The illusion lasts only as long as the gusts persist, but during those moments, the landscape feels transformed, as though gravity itself has briefly loosened its grip. Some seeds can survive for thousands of years before growing. Seeds are nature's time capsules, protected by tough outer shells that preserve life inside. Some can remain dormant for centuries, waiting patiently for the right conditions. In one extraordinary case, scientists successfully germinated a date palm seed discovered in the ruins of Masada in Israel that was nearly 2,000 years old. In Arctic tundra environments, certain plant seeds may remain viable even longer, preserved by frozen soil. Inside each seed, the embryo exists in a state of near-zero activity, its nutrients sealed and protected. When warmth, moisture, and light finally return, the seed awakens, bridging vast spans of time in a single act of growth. It is as if the plant has been holding its breath for centuries. There are animals that can clone themselves. Some organisms can reproduce without mating, creating genetically identical copies of themselves through a process called asexual reproduction. While common in simple life forms, it also occurs in more complex animals. Starfish, for instance, can regenerate lost limbs, and in some cases, an entirely new starfish can grow from a single arm. Freshwater hydras reproduce by budding off miniature versions of themselves. Some insects lay eggs that develop into clones without fertilization. In stable environments, this method allows populations to grow rapidly without the need for partners. The trade-off is reduced genetic diversity, but under the right conditions, cloning is an efficient and powerful survival strategy. Certain plants can count the hours of daylight. Many plants possess an internal biological clock, known as a circadian rhythm, that helps them track time. Some species use this internal timing system to measure day length, a process called photoperiodism. This ability tells them when to flower, grow, or shed leaves. Chrysanthemums, for example, bloom only when nights reach a specific length, while other plants wait for long summer days to ensure pollinators are active. This timing can be so precise that even plants grown under artificial lighting will continue to follow their natural schedules. It is a quiet form of intelligence, allowing plants to synchronize their lives with the turning of the seasons. There are clouds heavier than mountains. A single large thundercloud can contain millions of tons of water, outweighing entire mountain ranges in mass. The reason it does not collapse is that this water is spread across countless tiny droplets or ice crystals, held aloft by rising air currents. These colossal clouds can stretch for kilometers and tower high into the atmosphere. Their tops glow white in sunlight, while their undersides churn with deep shadows and rolling motion. When conditions shift, gravity briefly wins, and the stored water returns to Earth as rain, hail, or snow, completing a cycle that has shaped landscapes for millions of years. Seeing one on the horizon, it's hard to imagine that something so light and airy could carry such immense weight. Clouds look delicate, almost fragile, drifting overhead like soft brushstrokes across the sky. Yet inside them, millions of tons of water are suspended at once. Despite this enormous mass, they float effortlessly, guided by invisible currents of rising air. It's a quiet contradiction of nature, where immense weight is carried with feather-like grace, reminding us that appearances rarely tell the full story. Some creatures can survive in boiling water. In the most extreme environments on Earth, life has found ways to endure conditions that would be instantly fatal to most organisms. Around deep-sea hydrothermal vents, water temperatures can soar beyond 100 degrees Celsius. Here, in crushing darkness and intense pressure, microorganisms called hyperthermophiles not only survive, they thrive. Their proteins and cellular structures are uniquely adapted to remain stable under extreme heat, resisting breakdown where ordinary biology would fail. Some of these heat-loving microbes also live on land, inhabiting the scalding runoff of geysers, such as those found in Yellowstone National Park. These organisms form the foundation of entire ecosystems. Around deep-sea vents, they support tubeworms, clams, crabs, and other life that clusters around the superheated openings. By studying these microbes, scientists have discovered enzymes capable of functioning at temperatures once thought incompatible with life. Their existence challenges long-held assumptions about biology and expands the possibility of life in extreme environments beyond Earth. In places of boiling water and total darkness, life persists quietly, proving that survival has far fewer limits than we once believed. The ocean's deepest point is deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Far below the surface of the Pacific Ocean lies the Mariana Trench, home to the Challenger Deep, the deepest known point on Earth. At nearly 11 kilometers below sea level, it descends farther than Mount Everest rises above it. The pressure here is more than 1,000 times greater than at the surface, strong enough to crush steel. Sunlight never reaches this depth, and temperatures remain just above freezing. Yet even here, life endures. Tiny arthropods, unusual snailfish, and resilient microorganisms survive in this crushing environment, feeding on organic material that drifts down from the upper layers of the ocean like slow-falling snow. Only a handful of humans have ever visited the Challenger Deep, but robotic probes have mapped its alien terrain, revealing slopes, trenches, and fine sediments shaped by forces we barely understand. It is a reminder that some of the most mysterious places on Earth are not in distant galaxies, but beneath the waves of our own planet. Certain fish create their own underwater light shows. In the deep ocean, where sunlight disappears entirely, many creatures produce their own light through bioluminescence. Some fish use this glow to lure prey or confuse predators, while others use it to communicate. The flashlight fish, for example, has light-producing organs beneath its eyes, which it can blink on and off by covering them with skin flaps. Lanternfish carry glowing patterns along their bodies, possibly helping them recognize one another in the darkness. Some species flash in rhythmic pulses, sending signals through the water like an underwater form of Morse code. These displays can feel hypnotic, a drifting ballet of lights moving through total darkness, as if the ocean floor has its own stars. In a world without sunlight, light becomes a language, spoken in flickers, pulses, and glows. Some plants can taste when they are being eaten. Plants may appear passive, but many are keenly aware of their surroundings. When an insect bites into a leaf, certain plants can detect chemicals present in the insect's saliva. This triggers an almost immediate response. Defensive compounds are released, making the leaf bitter or toxic. Some plants go further, releasing airborne chemical signals that warn neighboring plants to activate their own defenses. This sensing doesn't rely on taste buds like ours, but on chemical detection at the cellular level. To an insect, it can feel as though the meal suddenly turns unpleasant halfway through. This process reveals that plants are not unaware or helpless. They actively respond to threats, quietly reading their environment and reacting in ways that improve their chances of survival. There are places where stones move on their own. In California's Racetrack Playa, a dry lake bed in Death Valley, large rocks appear to slide across the ground, leaving long trails etched into the surface. For decades, no one witnessed the movement, and the phenomenon remained a mystery. The explanation turned out to be subtle and rare. During certain winter conditions, a thin sheet of ice forms beneath the rocks. As the ice warms and fractures, light winds are enough to push the stones slowly across the slick surface. The movement is so gradual it can take hours for a rock to travel just a few meters. When the ice melts, the tracks remain, giving the impression that the stones traveled on their own during the night. Certain birds can mimic almost any sound. Some birds are extraordinary vocal imitators. The lyrebird of Australia can reproduce the sounds of chainsaws, camera shutters, car alarms, and other birds with astonishing accuracy. Mockingbirds in North America weave dozens of different sounds into their songs, copying frogs, insects, and mechanical noises. These abilities serve many purposes, from attracting mates to defending territory. Young birds learn by listening carefully to their surroundings, and the most talented mimics pass these complex repertoires down through generations. Hearing a bird perfectly mimic a barking dog deep in the forest is both surprising and strangely enchanting, a reminder that nature's voices are often layered with illusion. Some insects can see in ultraviolet light. Humans perceive only a narrow range of wavelengths, but many insects can see ultraviolet light, revealing patterns hidden from our eyes. Flowers often display ultraviolet markings that act as landing guides, directing pollinators straight to nectar. Bees, butterflies, and beetles navigate partly by reading these glowing patterns. Ultraviolet vision can also help insects spot predators or recognize mates. To them, the world is painted with contrasts and signals we cannot perceive, a familiar landscape transformed by an unseen layer of light. The Sahara Desert was once green and full of life. Thousands of years ago, the Sahara was not a sea of sand, but a landscape of lakes, rivers, and grasslands. Ancient lake beds, fossilized pollen, and rock art reveal a time when hippos, crocodiles, and early human communities thrived there. This green period occurred because shifts in Earth's tilt and orbit pushed monsoon rains farther north. Over time, those patterns changed, and the region slowly dried into the desert we know today. Beneath the sand, traces of that lush past remain, preserving a record of how dramatically climate can reshape entire regions. There are storms that last for centuries. On Jupiter, the Great Red Spot is a massive storm larger than Earth itself. It has been raging for at least 300 years, possibly far longer. Unlike storms on Earth, Jupiter's lack of a solid surface allows this one to continue endlessly. Fueled by the planet's turbulent atmosphere, the storm spins with winds reaching hundreds of kilometers per hour. From space, it appears as a swirling red oval, an enduring feature in Jupiter's cloud bands. Studying it helps scientists understand planetary atmospheres far beyond our own. Certain frogs can turn transparent. Glass frogs from Central and South America have skin so clear that their internal organs are visible. When resting, they can shift blood away from their skin, becoming even more transparent and blending seamlessly into leaves. This ability provides camouflage, helps regulate temperature, and reduces exposure to harmful ultraviolet light. Seeing one up close feels almost unreal, like looking at a living window into anatomy. It's one more example of how evolution shapes life in ways that feel almost magical. Its heartbeat and movement are visible beneath a delicate, translucent green surface. When you look closely, you can almost see life flowing just beneath the skin, a quiet pulse moving in steady rhythm. It's a gentle reminder that even the most fragile-looking organisms are alive with motion and purpose, carrying on their hidden work in silence. Some trees can produce hundreds of gallons of sap in a single season. Certain species, such as the sugar maple, are especially famous for this remarkable ability. As winter fades into early spring, temperatures begin to swing dramatically. Nights drop below freezing, while days slowly warm under the returning sun. These fluctuations create pressure changes inside the tree's trunk, pushing sap upward through a network of vessels. Farmers and foragers carefully tap into this flow by drilling small holes and placing spouts to collect the liquid. What emerges is mostly clear water, lightly sweetened with natural sugars. It takes more than 40 liters of sap to produce just 1 liter of maple syrup, concentrated through long hours of gentle boiling. In a good year, a single mature tree may yield hundreds of liters of sap. But sap is far more than a human delicacy. It is the tree's circulatory system, transporting water, sugars, and nutrients to buds and branches as new leaves prepare to emerge. Standing in a quiet forest, listening to sap drip steadily into a container, can feel like witnessing the tree's heartbeat itself, flowing in harmony with the slow awakening of spring. There are rivers that boil. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon flows a river known as Timpishka, sometimes called the Boiling River. Its waters can reach temperatures close to 100 degrees Celsius, hot enough to scald skin and kill small animals that fall in. Unlike volcanic hot springs, this river is heated by geothermal energy far beneath the Earth's surface, where water seeps deep underground, warms, and rises back up through fractures in the rock. The river stretches for more than 6 kilometers, winding through dense rainforest, its surface cloaked in rising steam that drifts into the canopy above. Leaves near the banks curl from the heat, and the air carries the sound of bubbling water alive with energy. For local communities, the river holds spiritual significance. For scientists, it is a rare and powerful reminder that Earth's internal heat can shape landscapes in dramatic ways, even far from volcanoes. Certain animals can live entirely in darkness. In the deepest caves and ocean trenches, some creatures are born into worlds without light and never experience the sun. Over generations, these animals often lose their eyes completely. Vision becomes unnecessary, and instead, other senses sharpen to extraordinary levels. The Mexican blind cavefish, for example, can detect minute vibrations and changes in water pressure through its skin, allowing it to navigate and locate food in total darkness. Deep-sea creatures like the tripod fish extend long, sensitive fins to feel the seafloor, sensing their surroundings without ever seeing them. In these environments, darkness is not a disadvantage. It is simply home, and life thrives by adapting to its rules. Some shells grow in perfect mathematical spirals. Many shell-producing animals follow growth patterns so precise they can be described using mathematical formulas. The nautilus is a famous example, constructing its shell in a logarithmic spiral. As it grows, it adds new chambers, each larger than the last, while maintaining the same elegant shape. This structure is both strong and efficient, providing protection and buoyancy control. Similar spirals appear throughout nature, from sunflower heads to hurricanes and even spiral galaxies. When you trace a shell's curve inward with your finger, you're following a pattern repeated across vastly different scales, connecting the smallest seashell to the sweeping arms of the Milky Way. There are clouds that glow in the night sky, high above Earth's surface, more than 80 kilometers up. Delicate noctilucent clouds sometimes shimmer after sunset, formed from tiny ice crystals clinging to dust particles in the upper atmosphere. These clouds glow with a silvery blue light. They are illuminated not by the sun overhead, but by sunlight reflecting from beyond the horizon, long after night has fallen below. Most visible at high latitudes during summer, they appear ghostly and unreal, like rippling veils suspended at the edge of space. Scientists believe these clouds may be becoming more common as atmospheric conditions change. Watching them feels like seeing the sky itself breathe softly in silver. Certain spiders can sail across the ocean. Some spiders use silk not only to spin webs, but also to travel. In a behavior known as ballooning, they release fine strands of silk that catch the wind and lift them into the air. While many journeys are short, some spiders have been found hundreds of kilometers out at sea. Their silk acts like a sail, carrying them across vast distances. Scientists believe they can survive by resting on floating debris and catching tiny airborne insects. This ability allows spiders to colonize new islands and coastlines, often arriving among the very first settlers after volcanic eruptions. Watching a spider rise into the air, lifted by a single thread, feels like witnessing the beginning of an impossible voyage. Some animals can survive for years without food. In extreme environments, survival sometimes depends on patience rather than abundance. The olm, a cave-dwelling salamander found in Europe, can go without eating for up to 10 years by drastically slowing its metabolism. Crocodiles and certain snakes can survive more than a year without food, relying on stored fat. Even microscopic creatures like tardigrades can enter a state called cryptobiosis, shutting down almost all biological activity until conditions improve. These strategies allow life to persist in environments where food arrives only in rare, unpredictable bursts. There are forests beneath the ocean. Along many coastlines, vast underwater kelp forests sway gently with the currents. Giant kelp can grow more than half a meter per day, reaching heights over 30 meters and forming dense underwater canopies. These forests shelter fish, sea otters, and countless other species. They act as nurseries for marine life and help protect shorelines by absorbing the force of waves. Sunlight filtering through the kelp casts an emerald glow, and the slow motion of the fronds can feel hypnotic to divers. Like forests on land, they are complex ecosystems. Only here the trees are flexible, leaf-like blades anchored to the seafloor. Certain birds can sleep while flying. Birds such as the frigate bird can remain airborne for days or even weeks without landing. Scientists have discovered that they achieve this by letting one half of their brain sleep at a time. This form of unihemispheric slow-wave sleep allows them to glide on air currents while remaining alert enough to navigate. Even while resting, they may circle effortlessly on rising thermals, barely flapping their wings. The sky itself becomes their resting place, turning flight into both movement and sleep. Some rocks can sing when the wind passes over them. In certain deserts, steady winds can set dunes or boulders vibrating, producing deep, resonant sounds that travel for kilometers. These singing rocks or booming dunes create tones that can last minutes after movement begins. The sound is caused by grains of sand or rock surfaces rubbing together at just the right frequency. Marco Polo described hearing such sounds in the Gobi Desert centuries ago. The effect is haunting, as if the land itself is humming, breathing a low, ancient song into the air. There are deserts made of pure white sand. Not all deserts are golden or red. In southern New Mexico, White Sands National Park stretches across the landscape in dazzling white waves. The dunes here are made of gypsum crystals, a mineral that rarely forms large dune fields because it dissolves easily in water. In this closed desert basin, water had nowhere to escape. As ancient lakes evaporated, thick layers of gypsum were left behind. Over thousands of years, the wind sculpted them into rippling dunes that sparkle under sunlight and glow pale blue beneath the moon. It is a landscape that feels almost unreal, where the desert shines instead of burns. Walking here feels almost like stepping into fresh snow. The ground beneath your feet crunches softly with each step, not cold, but warm, sunlit, and dry. Instead of icy air, there is heat rising gently around you, shimmering slightly above the surface. The brightness is almost blinding, a white so intense it reflects the sky itself. This vast whiteness is so striking it can be seen from space, a glowing desert unlike any other on Earth. It feels familiar and alien at the same time, as if winter and summer have somehow merged into a single surreal landscape. Some jellyfish can live forever. The tiny jellyfish Turritopsis dohrnii possesses one of the most extraordinary abilities known in the animal kingdom. When it becomes stressed, injured, or reaches the end of its natural life, it does something almost unimaginable. Instead of dying, it reverses its own development. Its cells transform back into an earlier stage of life, returning the jellyfish to a juvenile polyp form, where it can begin growing all over again. This process, known as transdifferentiation, allows the jellyfish to reset its biological clock. In theory, it can repeat this cycle indefinitely, making it biologically immortal. Of course, it is not invincible. It can still be eaten by predators or succumb to disease. Found in oceans around the world, these jellyfish are only a few millimeters across, their nearly transparent bodies drifting unnoticed through the water. Yet their existence is a powerful reminder that in nature, even aging, something we consider inevitable, can sometimes be rewritten. Certain ants grow their own food. Leafcutter ants are among the most advanced farmers on the planet. They cut and carry pieces of leaves back to their underground colonies, not to eat directly, but to feed a specific type of fungus they carefully cultivate. Deep below the forest floor, these ants tend vast fungal gardens, protecting them from disease and maintaining ideal conditions for growth. The fungus breaks down tough plant fibers into nutrients the ants can digest. This partnership is so specialized that neither the ants nor the fungus can survive without the other. Colonies may contain millions of individuals, each with a precise role. Some ants harvest leaves, others tend the gardens, while soldiers defend the nest. It is a complete agricultural system that evolved over millions of years, long before humans ever planted their first crops. There are flowers that smell like rotting meat. While many plants attract pollinators with sweet fragrances, some rely on deception. The corpse flower, Amorphophallus titanum, can grow more than 3 meters tall and releases an overwhelming odor similar to decaying flesh. This powerful scent attracts beetles and flies that normally seek out dead animals. Instead of finding carrion, these insects unknowingly pollinate the plant. The bloom itself is rare, often occurring only once every several years, and lasts just a few days. During this time, the flower heats itself to help spread the smell farther through the air. For those who experience it, the sight is unforgettable. A massive, otherworldly bloom using illusion and decay to ensure its survival. Some trees can survive complete fires. In regions where wildfires are common, certain trees have evolved remarkable defenses. Giant sequoias, for example, have thick, spongy bark that can reach up to 60 centimeters in thickness, insulating them from intense heat. Other species, like eucalyptus and pine, protect their buds beneath layers of bark, allowing them to regrow quickly after flames pass. For many trees, fire is not a disaster but a necessity. It clears away competing vegetation and triggers seed release. Sequoia cones open only when exposed to heat, scattering seeds onto nutrient-rich soil. Through these adaptations, destruction becomes renewal, and fire becomes not an ending, but a beginning. There are animals that can see Earth's magnetic field. Certain birds, sea turtles, and even some mammals appear capable of sensing the planet's magnetic forces. This ability, known as magnetoreception, may come from special light-sensitive proteins in their eyes or tiny magnetic particles within their bodies. Birds rely on this sense to navigate vast migrations. Sea turtles use it to return to the very beaches where they were born. For these animals, the magnetic field acts like an invisible map, constantly guiding them across oceans and continents. It is a sense humans lack entirely, an unseen layer of perception woven into the world. Certain lakes are so clear you can see for hundreds of feet. Some waters are so pure that visibility extends astonishingly deep. Blue Lake in New Zealand is considered the clearest natural freshwater lake on Earth, with visibility reaching up to 80 meters. This clarity comes from water filtered slowly through layers of rock and sand, removing nearly all particles. Looking into such water feels like peering through glass into another realm. Fish appear to float in midair, and the colors of the lakebed remain sharp even at great depths. These pristine environments are rare and fragile, easily altered by even the smallest disturbance. Some whales sing songs that travel across entire oceans. Humpback whales are famous for their long, complex songs, sequences of sound that can last for hours. These songs travel for hundreds, sometimes thousands, of kilometers through the deep sea. Males sing most often during breeding season, and the songs evolve over time, spreading through populations like shared melodies. Scientists believe the songs may attract mates or help whales communicate across vast distances. Hearing a recording of a whale song feels like listening to the ocean itself speak, slow and resonant with immense depth. There are storms that produce blue lightning. While most lightning appears white or yellow, some volcanic eruptions generate vivid blue flashes. This rare phenomenon occurs when ash particles collide in eruption clouds, building powerful electrical charges. The blue color comes from the ionization of volcanic gases, such as sulfur dioxide. These storms are both beautiful and terrifying, illuminating towering ash plumes with an eerie glow. Against a dark sky, blue lightning looks almost unnatural, as if the volcano is drawing energy from another world. Certain mosses can survive in space. Some simple plants have demonstrated astonishing resilience beyond Earth. In experiments aboard the International Space Station, mosses exposed to vacuum, radiation, and extreme temperatures were able to revive once returned to normal conditions. Their survival depends on specialized proteins and cellular structures that protect against dehydration and DNA damage. This resilience makes them valuable for research into life beyond our planet. That a soft, green carpet of moss can endure where almost nothing else can is a quiet testament to life's persistence. Some mushrooms glow in the dark. In forests across the world, certain fungi emit a gentle bioluminescent light. This glow comes from a chemical reaction involving luciferin, the same compound found in fireflies. The light may attract insects that help spread spores or deter animals from eating the fungi. Species like foxfire fungi in North America can illuminate forest floors with a soft green glow. For centuries, travelers told stories of glowing wood, unaware they were witnessing living organisms. Walking through such a forest feels magical, as though the earth itself is scattered with fallen stars. There are plants that can live entirely underwater. While many plants tolerate flooding, some are fully adapted to life beneath the surface. Aquatic plants like eelgrass and pondweed have thin, flexible leaves that sway with currents and specialized tissues that carry oxygen to their roots. They photosynthesize just like land plants, drawing carbon dioxide from the water instead of air. In clear, shallow lakes, underwater meadows create vital habitats for fish, amphibians, and invertebrates. These plants also stabilize sediments and keep water clean, quietly supporting entire ecosystems beneath the surface. Though hidden from view, these underwater gardens are just as vital to their ecosystems as any forest rising above the surface. Beneath the waves, these plant-filled landscapes quietly support entire food webs, offering shelter, oxygen, and nourishment to countless species. Just as trees stabilize soil and shape climates on land, these submerged forests anchor sediments, calm currents, and create living architecture in places most human eyes never see. Certain insects migrate farther than any other animal. Each year, tiny globe skimmer dragonflies undertake an astonishing journey spanning more than 18,000 kilometers. They travel from India, crossing the vast Indian Ocean to Africa, and then back again. This migration, completed over several generations, may be the longest known journey of any insect on Earth. Despite their delicate wings and lightweight bodies, they ride seasonal winds and shifting weather patterns with remarkable precision. Monarch butterflies also perform extraordinary migrations, flying thousands of kilometers from Canada and the northern United States to wintering grounds deep in central Mexico. These journeys are guided by environmental signals such as temperature changes, the length of daylight, and even subtle cues from Earth's magnetic field. For creatures so small, the endurance, timing, and navigation required are nothing short of miraculous. Their travels rival and even surpass those of much larger animals, proving that determination and instinct matter more than size in the natural world. Some rivers disappear underground and reappear miles away. In karst landscapes, where limestone bedrock is riddled with cracks, tunnels, and caverns, entire rivers can vanish beneath the surface. Water slips into sinkholes and flows unseen through vast underground passageways before emerging far downstream. The Puerto Princesa underground river in the Philippines, for example, runs for more than 8 kilometers beneath the surface before emptying into the sea. In some places, explorers can travel along these hidden waterways, drifting through enormous chambers whose ceilings sparkle with mineral formations shaped over millions of years. These disappearing rivers sculpt the land both above and below ground, carving caves, feeding springs, and sustaining ecosystems that exist entirely in darkness. When they finally return to daylight, they bring with them nutrients and life from the depths below. There are forests where the trees all share the same root system. Some forests are not made up of individual trees at all, but are instead a single organism spread across a vast area. Aspen groves often grow from one shared root network, sending up new trunks known as suckers. Above ground, each tree appears separate, with its own bark and branches, but underground they are genetically identical and deeply connected. The largest known example is a quaking aspen colony in Utah called Pando. It covers more than 40 hectares and is estimated to be thousands of years old. Through its shared roots, the forest distributes water and nutrients wherever they are needed most. If part of the grove is damaged by fire or disease, new shoots quickly rise to replace what was lost. It is a forest that survives not through isolation, but through unity. Certain flowers change color to attract different pollinators. Some flowers shift their colors as they age, sending clear visual signals to insects and birds. The tropical plant Lantana camara, for instance, opens with bright yellow flowers that later turn orange and then red. Pollinators learn that younger flowers contain more nectar, while older ones offer less reward. By changing color, the plant guides pollinators toward the flowers most likely to be fertile, increasing the efficiency of pollination. In some alpine species, flowers change color after they have already been pollinated, signaling that insects should move on. It is a quiet visual conversation between plant and animal, carried out in shades of color rather than sound. Some mountains are made entirely of salt. In certain regions of the world, ancient seas evaporated millions of years ago, leaving behind immense deposits of salt. Over time, tectonic forces pushed these deposits upward, forming entire mountains. Iran's Kuy-Namak, or Mount of Salt, is a striking example, its white slopes streaked with minerals that shimmer in the sunlight. In Bolivia, the vast Sala de Uyuni salt flat also contains raised ridges and formations of solid salt along its edges. These salt mountains slowly erode under wind and rain, revealing crystalline textures and sometimes hollow caves within. Their existence reminds us that many of today's highest and driest places were once submerged beneath ancient oceans. There are plants that remember past droughts. Some plants can adjust their growth and water use based on previous experiences with dryness. After surviving a severe drought, certain species store chemical signals that alter how their genes are expressed. If drought strikes again, they respond faster, closing tiny pores in their leaves to reduce water loss and activating protective compounds. This form of memory does not involve a brain, but rather long-lasting molecular changes. It allows plants to prepare for hardship before it arrives. In unpredictable climates, this ability can mean the difference between survival and death, showing that memory in nature takes many forms. Certain fish can leap up waterfalls, During spawning migrations, some fish must travel upstream against powerful currents, navigating rivers that seem impossible to climb. Salmon are famous for launching themselves into the air, leaping up waterfalls with astonishing strength and accuracy to reach calmer pools above. Smaller species, such as Hawaiian gobies, use a different strategy. Equipped with suction cup-like fins, they cling to rocks and slowly climb vertical surfaces inch by inch. These journeys are exhausting but essential, ensuring the fish return to the exact environments where they were born. Watching a fish repeatedly challenge a roaring waterfall is a striking display of perseverance against gravity itself. Some deserts have lakes hidden deep below the sand. Beneath the dry surfaces of many deserts lie vast underground reservoirs known as aquifers. In places like the Sahara, these hidden lakes can stretch for hundreds of kilometers, holding ancient water that fell as rain thousands of years ago. Sometimes this water reaches the surface through springs or oases, creating pockets of green life amid endless sand. In other cases, it remains trapped far below, accessible only through deep drilling. These underground lakes are lifelines for people, animals, and plants, proving that even in the harshest landscapes, life-giving water can quietly wait beneath the surface. There are animals that can survive in both boiling and freezing water. Some of Earth's toughest life forms endure conditions that swing between extreme heat and bitter cold. Certain extremophile microbes thrive near deep-sea hydrothermal vents, where temperatures can exceed 100 degrees Celsius, yet survive near freezing water between eruptions. Antarctic icefish live in sub-zero seas thanks to antifreeze proteins in their blood. Tardigrades, microscopic creatures often called water bears, can withstand both boiling heat and being frozen solid by entering a state known as cryptobiosis. In this state, their bodies dry out and nearly all metabolic activity stops. These organisms demonstrate that life's limits are far more flexible than we once believed. Certain birds navigate using the stars. For thousands of years, migratory birds have traveled enormous distances with remarkable accuracy. Species such as the indigo bunting orient themselves by observing constellations rotating around the North Star. Even young birds raised without migration experience can recognize these celestial patterns. In the southern hemisphere, different stars serve the same purpose. Birds combine starlight navigation with cues from the sun and Earth's magnetic field to create a layered internal map. Experiments have shown that altering star patterns can disorient them, proving that the night sky itself is part of their navigation system. Some animals use tools to solve problems. Tool use was once thought to belong only to humans, but many animals have proven otherwise. Chimpanzees craft sticks to extract termites from mounds. Sea otters crack shellfish using stones balanced on their chests. Crows drop nuts onto roads and wait for passing cars to break them open. Dolphins have even been seen carrying marine sponges over their snouts to protect themselves while searching for food along sharp coral. These behaviors require learning, creativity, and sometimes teaching across generations. Tool use blurs the line between instinct and intelligence, reminding us that problem-solving appears in many forms throughout the animal kingdom. There are caves that breathe. In some cave systems, changes in temperature and air pressure cause air to flow in and out like a slow, steady breath. Cool air sinks into cave entrances at night, while warmer air rises and escapes during the day. To those standing nearby, it can feel as though the earth itself is quietly inhaling and exhaling. Alive beneath the stone in some cave systems, the air seems to move in and out as though the cave itself were alive. This strange breathing effect happens when changes in weather or temperature outside alter air pressure, forcing air to flow into or out of the cave's openings. Warm air may rise and escape while cooler air rushes inward, or the process may reverse, depending on the conditions above ground. In vast cave networks, this movement can be surprisingly powerful. Strong enough to stir dust from the floor, rustle leaves near an entrance, or even blow out candles carried by early explorers. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky and Wind Cave in South Dakota are famous examples, where visitors can sometimes feel strong gusts pouring from narrow passages. To stand at the mouth of such a cave and feel cool air exhaling from the darkness is to realize that underground spaces are not sealed or static. They are deeply connected to the living atmosphere above, quietly responding to the same forces that shape the sky. Certain trees release scents to warn others of danger. When attacked by insects, some trees emit airborne chemical signals that drift through the forest air. Nearby trees of the same species can detect these warning molecules and respond by altering their own chemistry. Leaves become bitter, tougher, or even toxic, making them far less appealing to hungry pests. Acacia trees in Africa are especially well known for this behavior. When grazed upon, they release compounds that alert neighboring acacias, prompting entire stands to activate their defenses almost at once. Some of these scents also attract predators and parasites that prey on the attacking insects, turning the tables on the threat. It is a silent alarm system carried on the wind, transforming the forest into a community that communicates, cooperates, and protects itself. Some oceans have underwater rivers and waterfalls. Beneath the surface of the sea, differences in temperature, salinity, and density can create powerful currents that flow along the ocean floor like invisible rivers. These dense streams of water move independently beneath lighter layers above them, following channels and contours carved into the seabed. In certain places, these underwater rivers plunge over steep edges, forming massive submerged waterfalls. The largest known example lies in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, where dense Arctic water flows beneath warmer Atlantic water and drops nearly 3,500 meters, more than 3 times the height of Angel Falls. These hidden cascades help drive global ocean circulation, transporting cold water, nutrients, and energy around the planet. Though unseen, they shape climate patterns that affect weather across the world. There are animals that can see in complete darkness. In the deep ocean and lightless caves, some creatures have evolved remarkable ways to sense their surroundings where human eyes would be useless. Certain deep-sea fish possess enormous, ultrasensitive eyes capable of detecting the faintest flashes of bioluminescence, the soft glow produced by other organisms. Other animals sense their world without light at all. Some snakes detect infrared heat signatures from warm-blooded prey, allowing them to strike accurately in total darkness. Cats and owls have specialized retinas and reflective layers behind their eyes that amplify scarce light, giving them exceptional night vision. These adaptations allow animals to hunt, navigate, and communicate in environments that appear completely black to us. Certain plants can release heat. Some plants, such as the eastern skunk cabbage, are capable of producing enough warmth to melt snow around them in early spring. This process, known as thermogenesis, comes from rapid chemical reactions inside the plant cells that release energy as heat rather than storing it. The warmth helps spread scent molecules into the air, attracting pollinators even when temperatures are low. In tropical regions, other plants use heat to intensify powerful odors, drawing insects from great distances. Though rare, this ability shows that plants are not passive organisms. They can actively manipulate temperature in ways we usually associate only with animals. Some rocks are older than the continents. Scattered across Earth are tiny mineral grains called zircons that date back more than 4 billion years, older than the oldest known continental crust. These crystals formed when the planet was still young, shortly after the surface cooled enough for liquid water to exist. Found in places such as Western Australia, zircons have survived erosion, burial, and the constant recycling of Earth's crust. Locked within them are chemical clues about early oceans, ancient atmospheres, and the conditions that made life possible. Holding one is like holding a fragment of Earth's childhood, a survivor from a time almost beyond imagination. There are insects that can walk on water. Water striders glide effortlessly across the surface of ponds and streams using long, slender legs covered in microscopic hairs that repel water. Combined with the natural surface tension of water, this allows them to stand and move without sinking. With quick, precise movements, they skate across the surface to hunt prey or escape predators. Each step sends out delicate ripples that spread like rings on glass. Watching them skim across still water feels like witnessing tiny dancers performing on a liquid stage. Certain forests can make their own clouds. In dense tropical forests, trees release enormous amounts of water vapor into the air through a process called transpiration. This moisture rises, cools, and condenses into clouds directly above the forest canopy. In places like the Amazon, this cycle repeats daily. The clouds not only provide rain for the forest itself, but also help transport moisture thousands of kilometers away, influencing weather across entire continents. Scientists have found that large-scale deforestation can disrupt this process, reducing cloud formation and altering climate systems. Seen from above, these forest-made clouds look like soft blankets floating over endless green seas, each one formed from countless invisible breaths. Some animals can recognize themselves in mirrors. Self-recognition was once thought to be uniquely human, but several animals have demonstrated this ability. Great apes, dolphins, elephants, and even birds like magpies can use a mirror to inspect parts of their bodies they cannot normally see. In experiments, animals marked with a small, harmless spot often use their reflection to investigate or attempt to remove it. This suggests a level of self-awareness, an understanding of "this is me." While not all species pass the mirror test, those that do hint at complex inner lives we are only beginning to understand. There are plants that can eat small animals. Carnivorous plants such as the Venus flytrap, sundew, and pitcher plant have evolved to trap and digest animals, usually insects but sometimes even small frogs or lizards. They live in nutrient-poor soils and rely on their prey for essential nitrogen and minerals. Each species uses a different strategy. Sticky leaves that trap insects, snapping jaws that close in milliseconds, or deep pitchers filled with digestive fluid. Once caught, the prey is slowly broken down over days. These adaptations are not about aggression, but survival, allowing plants to flourish where others would starve. Certain lakes are filled with water so dense it's almost impossible to sink. In hypersaline lakes like the Dead Sea, the concentration of salt is far higher than in ordinary seawater. This extreme density allows people to float effortlessly on the surface without swimming. The same conditions make these lakes inhospitable to most life, though specialized microorganisms still survive. Swimming here feels unusual, more like lying on a thick cushion than moving through water. The buoyancy is so strong that the body is held upright with almost no effort. Some birds build structures more complex than human houses. Male bowerbird in Australia construct elaborate bowers to attract mates, building arched or hut-like structures decorated with shells, feathers, flowers, and brightly colored objects. Each bird develops a unique style, arranging items with careful attention to color and symmetry. Weaver birds are equally skilled, creating intricately woven nests suspended from branches, complete with entrance tunnels designed to deter predators. These avian architects demonstrate creativity, precision, and planning, producing structures that rival human craftsmanship. There are stones that grow over time. In parts of Romania, unusual rock formations called trovents appear to grow after heavy rain. Mineral-rich water seeps into their porous structure, depositing new layers as it evaporates. Though the growth is slow, only a few millimeters per year, it challenges the idea of rocks as lifeless and unchanging. Over centuries, these stones can develop bulbous shapes or split apart, as if the landscape itself were quietly alive. Certain creatures have existed unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Some species are so perfectly suited to their environments that they appear almost frozen in time. Over unimaginably long stretches of Earth's history, they have changed so little that they look nearly identical to their ancient ancestors. Horseshoe crabs are one of the most striking examples. They have been moving along coastlines and shallow seas for more than 400 million years, surviving asteroid impacts, ice ages, and multiple mass extinctions that wiped out countless other forms of life. Their armored shells, spiked tails, and simple but efficient body design proved so effective that nature had little reason to alter it. The coelacanth tells a similar story. This deep-sea fish was once known only from fossils and believed to have vanished alongside the dinosaurs. Then, in the 20th century, living coelacanth were discovered swimming in dark underwater caves, nearly unchanged from forms that lived over 300 million years ago. These living fossils remind us that evolution does not always favor constant transformation. Sometimes survival comes from finding a design that works so well it endures across entire geological eras. Some places on Earth have never been touched by humans. Even in a world mapped by satellites and crossed by aircraft, there remain corners of the planet that no human has ever reached. Some lie atop remote mountain peaks buried in ice and storms. Others exist deep within unexplored cave systems, at the bottoms of ocean trenches, or within rainforest interiors so dense they resist entry. Isolated islands and inaccessible valleys continue to shelter ecosystems that have developed entirely on their own. These untouched places act as living time capsules, preserving ancient relationships between plants, animals, and landscapes. They remind us that despite humanity's vast reach, much of Earth still belongs completely to itself. There are rivers flowing beneath the ice of Antarctica, hidden under kilometers of frozen ice sheets. Vast networks of subglacial rivers and lakes move silently through darkness. Geothermal heat from deep within the Earth, combined with the immense pressure of the ice above, keeps this water from freezing. Some of these rivers connect enormous hidden lakes, forming drainage systems as complex as those on the surface. Scientists carefully drill through the ice to study them, discovering microbial life that has been sealed off from the rest of the world for millions of years. These hidden waterways reveal that even in one of the coldest, driest environments on the planet, water still flows and life quietly endures. Some deserts sing when the wind moves across their dunes. In certain sandy regions, steady winds or shifting sands can produce deep, resonant sounds that travel for kilometers. This phenomenon, known as singing or booming sand, occurs when grains of a particular size and dryness slide together in massive numbers, creating vibrations that echo through the dunes. The sound can be so powerful it seems to hum through your chest, as if the desert itself were producing music. Marco Polo wrote of hearing such voices in the Gobi Desert centuries ago, and travelers still describe the experience as haunting and unforgettable. It is one of nature's strangest performances, played not by instruments, but by wind and sand. And so, our slow journey through the hidden wonders of nature comes gently to a close. Together, we've wandered from ancient trees to glowing bays, from deserts that sing to forests that breathe. Along the way, we've seen how endlessly creative life can be. Some of these stories were about survival, about plants and animals adapting to extremes and finding ways to live where existence seems impossible. Others were about beauty, colors we cannot see, patterns that emerge over centuries, and landscapes that feel almost designed to inspire awe. Many were about mystery, things we can explain only partially, leaving room for wonder to continue growing. As you rest now, you might imagine the quiet pulse of a bioluminescent bay shimmering in the dark, or the slow rise of clouds born from a living forest. You might drift through an underwater kelp forest, sunlight filtering down in soft green ribbons, or stand beneath an ancient tree that has witnessed more seasons than we can count. The world is filled with places you may never visit, yet they exist all the same, thriving, shifting, and holding their secrets patiently. And the truth is, you don't have to travel far to find wonder. Sometimes it's right outside your door, hidden in the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of rain, or the cool night air. Thank you for letting me share these moments with you tonight. If you're still awake, you can continue on to the next story. But if your eyes are heavy and your thoughts are drifting, you can let them go. Nature will still be here when you wake, timeless, patient, and endlessly full of stories. Good night.